This in itself is a challenge because logically, Josh. Blah, blah, blah. You've been handpicked for a special mission. Your leader has chosen you and one other to go and spy out land to see if you can take it. This is a huge honor. Your leader had an entire nation to choose from, and he thinks that you are the best person for the job. And he knows what he's talking about. It was only about 40 years ago that he was saying where you are, being picked to be one of 12 spies by Moses. Him and his buddy Caleb were the only ones who believed that they would be able to take an area. So now that Moses is gone, it is finally his time to take a land that he was promised he would be able to see again. He is prepared for this day. He has led the Israelite armies in battle and is now leading the entire nation. Joshua knows what he's looking for in the most trusted men, and he has chosen you. The two of you swim across the Jordan River. This in itself is a challenge because logically, Joshua has chosen the worst time of the year, as this is the time of year that Jordan River is overflowing to the point that you start walking through water before you get to where the river is supposed to be. Tired, the two of you get across. And what you see is land so beautiful that is better than you ever thought was even possible. And you've pictured this day a lot, as you've been told that one day you would live here since you could remember. But you don't have time to stare at the beauty around you. You are on a mission. You race to the nearest city. You know what city you are looking for. It is famous in most of the region at the time. You are looking for a city of Jericho. But whenever you find it, you are amazed. You see this big city. Not quite as big as your Israelite camp, but still a big city that has an immovable wall around the entire city. The only way in and out is through a gate that is controlled by guards. If you enter a city through a gate, as you act like you're supposed to be there, in a way that doesn't bring attention to yourself. Well, once you're in, you find a woman that everyone's trying to pretend doesn't exist. You talk with her and you enter her house. And just in time as the gates are closing and everyone doesn't live in a city is being forced out of a city. But she recognizes you. She doesn't know you, but she knows that you are Israelites. Her decision is going to decide if you live or die. After all, it's just the two of you trapped in a city that has an army. If she sounds the alarm, they're coming to kill you, and you have no way out. Fortunately, you have found an Israelite supporter, and instead of sounding the alarm, she gives you a place to hide. And not a moment too soon, as you hear a knock on the door, and you see a soldier walk in. He tells her that someone has seen a pair of Israelites in her house. Apparently one of you, but wasn't being sneaky enough. You know this is the end. But to your surprise, the woman tells the man that two of you were there earlier, but she didn't realize that you were Israelites, and that you left the city right before the gate closed. At once, the soldiers leave the city in search of you. Then the woman tells you all about how the people are afraid because of the things that have happened to Israelites' enemies. Then she asks you to make her a promise that whenever you overtake Jericho, you will spare her and her family. You make a promise, and then she lets you out of the city through one of her windows that just happens to be on the wall of the city. Once you're on the ground, she tells you to go into the hills and stay there for 3 days before you head back so that the soldiers don't capture you. So the two of you head into the hills to hide there for 3 days. After the 3 days are up, you head back to camp, making that long walk back to the Jordan River, where you once again have to swim across the largest river in the area. Then you find Joshua to tell him all the exciting news that the woman told you. At this, Joshua is ecstatic. He has waited for 40 years for his chance again. And he had waited for his chance to lead the armies before, whenever Moses was supposed to take them across. Now his chance has come again, and the choice is up to him. He takes everyone to the Jordan River, and after 3 days pass, he gets you and the other commanders together to tell the people that whenever they see the Ark of the Covenant, they're supposed to get up and follow it. Once you see the Ark of the Covenant, you follow the instructions, and you get up and follow it. You watch as the priests carry the Ark of the Covenant to the edge of the river. You wonder to yourself, how are they going to get the ark across? But the priests continue to walk as if they don't even see the river in front of them. To your amazement, as they start to walk into what should be a raging river, the water stops flowing and makes the ground that should have a river on top of it dry ground. As you walk across, you find the other spy and you tell him how it would have been nice if you could have just walked across the river earlier. After a few days of preparations, Joshua calls all of the men together to tell y'all the plan for war. This is the time that you have been waiting for. After all, you are the best of the best whenever it comes to Israelites warriors. That is why you were one of the two chosen to be spies. But Joshua says something that you didn't expect. He tells you that in the morning, all the men of war are going to get up and go to battle with the priests. Now it seems a little strange, but then Joshua makes it even stranger. He says that the priests are going to play their trumpets. Now you know this is a bad move because it will give away the surprise. But you wouldn't dare say that to a man that has been the general for Israel for your entire life. But then Joshua says a really strange thing. All the men of war are going to march around the city without saying a word. And then after you march around the city one time, you're going to go back to camp. This doesn't make sense in any way. You're putting yourself in a spot where if the enemy wanted to, they could throw things at you. You're giving away your position and surprise, and doing all of that for what basically seems like a parade. You're annoyed. You were promised war, and instead, you're just surrounding the Israelite band while you get some cardio in. But whenever morning comes, you get up, you go to your position, and you march. Then after a couple of hours, whenever you have marched around the city, you go back to camp. Then Joshua tells you something terrible. Tomorrow, you have to do the same thing. So for 6 straight days, you get up, you go to your position, and you march around the city while a band provides music for the people in the city. After 6th day, Joshua tells you that tomorrow is the day you're going to have your victory. Finally, you're going to get your chance to fight. But Joshua tells you it isn't going to happen the way you think. You are going to have to march around the city 6 times while being quiet with the priests playing their instruments. And then on the 7th time, everyone's going to start to shout and to sing. And whenever that happens, the walls of Jericho are going to fall down. You start thinking the same thing you're probably thinking right now. How is that going to make the walls fall down? Have you seen this thing, Joshua? The walls are solid rock. There is no way that we could possibly make enough noise for those to fall down. I don't even know if there is such thing as enough noise to make walls of rock collapse. But you've already come this far. So in the morning, you put on your sandals for another long day of walking, and you join in formation. You finish your first pass, and you start getting a little curious. You look at a wall and your head falls down whenever you see that nothing has changed. You finish your second lap and still don't see anything changing. Same with your third, fourth, and fifth laps. By your sixth lap, your legs start to hurt and a band is giving you a headache as you realize that the city is bigger than you thought, but nothing has changed. Then you start your seventh lap. Joshua gives everyone a command to start making as much noise as possible. You start to scream as loud as you can and start to get a little loud or a little more excited every step as you realize that the more that you are marching and making noise on the last lap, the wall is starting to fall down a little by little. When the wall is completely fallen, chaos breaks out. As many have been waiting for war, but instead of having to march around a city for a week, finally get their chance to fight. At that time, Joshua finds you and tells you to go and complete your promise that you made with the woman that saved you. You rush into the city, jumping over the dead and avoiding the small battles with a few survivors as you rush to the woman's house. Once there, you enter her home that God has protected, and you lead her and her family out of the city, where they join the Israelite nation.